come forth. And while he's coming forth, verse 43 says, and when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, saying, Lazarus, come forth. And he who had died came forth, bound hands and foot with wrappings, and his face was wrapped around with cloth. And Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. So when he came out of the tomb, when God brought Lazarus to life, he was still bound up. And that's the way we are in our lives. When God causes us to be born again, we're still bound up by a lot of things. We've got our grave clothes on, so to speak. There's a lot of things that are keeping us restricted from becoming everything we're created to be and being able to do what God's called us to do. For example, if the devil came along to Lazarus right now and said, who do you think you are? See, he can't really defend himself. They didn't tie his grave clothes quite tight enough. But he can't defend himself because he's all bound up. So the devil comes along and said, you're no good. You can't do anything. And he just goes along with everything the devil says. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even have any vision. Notice it said here, the thing he says, where is it? He came forth bound hands and foot with wrappings, and his face cloth was around his face. So in other words, he couldn't even see where he's going. And that's sometimes what it's like when we first become a believer. We're born again. We're alive inside. It's a free gift from God. But we can't even see what God's got for our life. We're blinded because we got these grave cloths of our old life on us, and all we can see is our old life. So Jesus told the people around him, he didn't tell Lazarus, he told the people around him, he said to them, unbind him and let him go. So you see, it's our responsibility as our brothers and sisters of people that come to Christ, it's our job to unbind them and let him go. And that's what the church is all about. It's where we help one another to become unbound in whatever things bind them up. Now, sometimes things bind us up on our head. Our thinking's all screwed up. I'm no good. I can't do anything, I have no hope in my life, all this stuff. I've never been any good, blah, 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 blah. Goes on. And it's just the devil telling you a bunch of lies. So he'll tell some people to unbind him. So now, you see, he can actually start to see stuff. Don't tie him yet. He's a wild man. So he can start to see. He's starting to get a vision for his life. See, he can start to see when the devil's coming. He can see him coming. But he still can't do anything about it because he's still bound up. He's got kind of an idea that, hey, I've got a foe now that's coming against me, but he's not able to do anything. It's nice to know when you have an enemy, but it's not so nice when you kind of just watch him push you over into depression or into sickness or into poverty or anything like that. That's the way the devil pushes over, because he can't defend himself. You want to catch this guy again? In this case, his legs are too tight. Normally, I have it real tight and he can't move his legs, and then he falls over easily. But this guy was probably wise. He stood like this when they were wrapping him up. You have that mallet, Carol, I'll use it on him. That'll get him. And so that's our place as the church, is to unbind people. And it's a process. At first, people start to get a glimpse as you start to teach them. That's why we go through the Bible. It's important for us as a church to correct one another. There's a couple times in my life that I wish somebody had come up and said something to me. I was wrestling with stuff inside, and I sort of knew what God wanted me to do, and all the pressure around me was sort of seeing something different now. But deep in my heart, I knew it, and I was kind of figuring, all I need is somebody just to kind of confirm that, hey, you're a little off track here. But nobody said anything. And so I ended up going down the garden path in that particular instance. But it fired me up inside, saying, if I see somebody that's a little off track, I'm going to tell them. I don't care if they don't like me. I would appreciate it for somebody. And you can say it nicely. You don't have to say, "Thus say the Lord, you're an idiot, you're going the wrong way." You can say it nice. Say, look, I was kind of watching some stuff that was going on in your life, and do you think maybe that your visa bill's getting a little high? The fact that you can't pay it off every month, that's really not a good thing. Now, they can get mad at you, but you say, well, no, don't, I'm just telling you what I feel God's been saying to me for your life. You can do with it what you want. And if God's speaking to that person's heart, it'll be clicking inside as you're talking. It'll be registering on. Now, they may get mad and all this stuff, but after they come back after a few days, they'll say, thank you for saying that. God had been talking to me about that. I've been kind of ignoring it. And that's the way we can start to unbind people, is speak into their lives. Teach them the word. And that's the way we can get unbound, is we can get involved in Bible studies. Let other people teach us. Be teachable. For example, if Lazarus here said, I don't want anybody to unbind me. I'm going home the way I am. And he could walk fairly well. You know, he can kind of get by like this. But he lived his whole life so short of what he could be. But Jesus said, unbind him. So let's unbind a little more of them. So they started unwrapping the grave cloths. Okay, that's good for now. See, so now he's got his hands free. So now if I go to push him over, he can kind of defend himself a little bit. He can block. See? But if I tried hard enough, if his feet were actually tied the way they should have been tied, he would go over. And that's like our lives. We get a certain amount of freedom through the teaching. That's good. Just there. Thank you, guys. Perfect. Now let's watch this. See, he can. This guy is good, man. So we're limited still. We kind of know what's going on. We can do a little bit, but it's a growing thing. And that's what the Christian life is all about. It's a growing process of seeing how we're bound and how God wants to set it free. Now set them completely free. You guys got them so tied up now, you can never get my... Okay, now when I come, if the devil comes along, give me a hand clap. Now if the devil comes into his life, watch the difference. See, if I try to push him over now, and that's what we're supposed to be like. Don't take any guff from the devil. But you have to see him, and you have to be free to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's just a nice theory. We read about it in the Bible, all these people that had the victory over this, that, and the other thing, and you figure, well, it would sure be nice. Meanwhile, I'm bound up in my grave cloth. But as a church, it's our responsibility to speak into people's lives to set them free. And that's why we need to gather together. The word says, don't forsake the assembling together of the brethren. It's not just for your good, it's for other people's good. People need you in the church. You know, I oftentimes talk to people that don't go to church or quit going to church and say, well, I don't get anything out of it anymore. Well, I'm thinking about, how about you giving something rather than getting something? And a lot of times when we start to give, that's the next level of growing. As you give to others, God starts to feed back into you, and he'll take you up to a new level of your relationship with him. Thank you, Mr. Williamson. That's awesome. You're a great Lazarus. Go forth. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. The story ends in verse 45. It says, many, therefore, of the Jews who had come to Mary and beheld what was